Watch this.
Their job is to serve the public, and they get paid to do it. So how can elected officials avoid said public on social media? Or can they? Well, it's kind of complicated. It's been the biggest one-week drop in gas prices since the Great Recession. Not that we would know it here in Idaho. Our prices are still some of the highest, and it's put a pinch on what we can pay at the pump.
He's done this with hundreds of people. Put it in your mouth.
Your morning wake-up kiss likely hasn't had as big of an audience or as many involved as we saw this morning on Wake Up Idaho. Remember when social media was all about connecting with distant family and friends, or even poking fun at your closest ones? Well, social media is a real treat these days. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just full of positivity and uplifting content, isn't it? Platforms becoming political, that certainly isn't something that has happened all of a sudden, but it seems to have more of an edge over the last couple of years. That knife can cut a little deeper these days. A lot of that has been directed toward those we elected to lead us. So how much of that vitriol is too much? Or what if it's just too personal? Can an elected official just block someone? Some argue it's a violation of the First Amendment, preventing someone from posting on the public portion of an elected official's social media site. Well, here in Idaho, there's a pending legal action surrounding an Idaho lawmaker who has blocked Idahoans from his page. Representative Chad Christensen posted to his campaign Facebook page about it this past week, and he makes the argument that he's allowed to block Idahoans from his page for a few different reasons, which got us thinking. What are these rules on this topic? Surely the founding fathers never imagined this. Joe Paris spoke with the ACLU of Idaho and a legal group that has studied this issue closely in recent months.
As technology evolves, so does the law. And in recent years, a question here in Idaho, can elected officials block you from social media pages, or is that a violation of free speech laws?
We've gotten dozens of complaints, really, from community members over the last few years, I'd say. They really picked up, I think, in 2020. It was a very kind of dynamic legislative session, let's say, then, and in 2021 as well. And it led to a lot of folks being blocked.
Adika Singh is the legal director for ACLU Idaho. The team there researched the blocking question and its interaction with things like the First Amendment as they continue to get inquiries about it from Idahoans.
We found that folks might have had real legitimate claims under the First Amendment, but we were really hammered with dozens, maybe close to a couple hundred complaints over the last couple of years. And really our belief is that it shouldn't take a lawsuit for public officials to follow the law.
So how do you know if you're in a situation where you've been blocked on social media by an elected official and you're wondering, are they allowed to? Well, the ACLU has actually put together a toolkit that includes this flow chart. You can see there's some yes and no questions that the flow chart asks, and it really is trying to get to the bottom of should an elected official be allowed in that situation to have blocked you. And some of these yes or no questions, they get to the intricacy of, is this page a government page or a personal page that happens to just be owned by someone who is an elected official?
First question, look on the page, Facebook page, the Twitter presence, the web page, and see if it says the title of the government official. See if there's information that is related to government contact information, an official government email address, phone number. Ask yourself whether this person is using this page to promote policy, to discuss issues.
This past week, Idaho House Representative Chad Christensen posted on Facebook about his current battle over blocking Idahoans from his Facebook page. Christensen argues in a post that, quote, they think it is their First Amendment right because I'm a politician. Also, this is mainly a campaign page, not an official government page. There has been precedent set on that. It is interesting to note, Christensen did change the name of this same Facebook page back in May. Transparency data from Facebook reflects that the page was named Representative Chad Christensen until May 8th, when it changed to Re-elect Representative Chad Christensen. Important to note, the change did take place shortly before the May primary election. In general, Singh says, look at the historical use of a page in question if there is a simple name change.
I think you have to look at the history of the public officials' use of this particular forum. And if it started out as a forum that was not a campaign forum, that likely remains an official forum, an official public forum in which that interaction with the public cannot be blocked. So again, just what was the history of this person's interaction with that page would be the critical question that courts would seek to answer.
The situation does go both ways. If a citizen is acting totally inappropriate on a government page or breaking page rules, that can open the door for justified and allowed blocking.
You want to make sure that you were within that policy. You want to make sure that you weren't using profanity or seeking to use profanity, that you weren't threatening this person or personally attacking that person or trying to sell something. You also want to just take note as to whether you were warned. Maybe this public official felt, threatened, physically threatened by your comment.
So what do you do if you really feel wrong? Well, the ACLU says the first thing you should do is reach out to the elected official and ask to simply be unblocked. That's really the best way to deal with it. If no luck, though, and it really gets to the point where you'd want to do this, Brian, you could actually file a lawsuit over this entire thing, and a court would be asked to rule on this. And the ACLU telling me today that, you can win damages up to a pretty high amount on a situation like this. Long story short, the idea is to simply get the public official to unblock you. But if for some reason they're not willing to do that, there is legitimate legal course. And the ACLU has actually put together that toolkit we mentioned. The flowchart is a part of it. They've also essentially written a letter, almost like a professional Mad Lib, where you could, fill in your situation. You could say, "Dear Mr. So-and-so" or "Dear Mrs. So-and-so," and it spells out for the elected official really what the laws are in Idaho. So when you're reaching out to them, they're understanding what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes without saying, social media has become a hot mess lately. And I would like to ask, I know you reached out to Representative Christensen to talk to him about this. I would like to ask him those questions, like what made you want to block some people? Because sometimes it feels like social media, you get out of it what you kind of put into it.
Yeah, and again, we reached out to him. We wanted to ask him, what were your thoughts? Why did you block this? He could be in the right, he could be in the wrong. If you're watching, Representative, we'd love to chat with you about this.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. All right, the roller coaster ride we've been on the last couple of years when it comes to what we're paying at the pump to fill our gas tanks has been nothing short of the nearly 200 vertical feet, 65-mile-an-hour thrill ride at Silverwood Theme Park in Athol. Sticker shock meet aftershock. Well, this climb we've been on has been a robust one. Remember when we were paying less than $2 a gallon during the early days of the pandemic? $1.83 the last week of April 2020 in Idaho compared to $1.74 in the national average at that time. Now jump ahead to last month when the national average went above $5 a gallon for the first time ever. But we have seen them drop since then, as much as 25 cents a gallon since the last month and about 12 cents a gallon since last week. As of this morning, the national average, according to AAA, is sitting at $4.67. Whew, man, wouldn't that be nice? $4.67. We haven't seen $4.67 in months here in Idaho. Little to no relief, in fact. We took a drive around Boise this afternoon. You can still see averaging about $5.31 a gallon in Boise area. As a state, we're at $5.21 a gallon, 4 cents cheaper than our all-time high set of $5.25 that was set on the 1st of July. So, so a national average of $4.67 versus an Idaho average of $5.21. Why more than the 50-cent difference there? Well, a question we asked of AAA Idaho's Matt Condi, who seems like a glass half full kind of guy.
We've gotten the first positive sign. We dropped 4 cents in the last week, and that is encouraging. But the Rocky Mountain region is generally the last to react to any big price change, good or bad. So we're in a situation where prices are falling. We're at the end of that train, so to speak. And now that things are falling elsewhere, dramatically so in some parts of the country, we're just beginning to get those benefits here.
A better analogy might be like the last car on that roller coaster where everybody else is already starting to drop and we're just kind of waiting for the plummet, right? Same old story, though. Idaho's isolated. Only one pipeline bringing in the refined gasoline. We're always the last to see the savings, yada, yada, yada. We've heard it before. We've explained it before. But Condi explains this current dip in this way. Last week, the cost of crude oil dropped below $100 a barrel for the first time since May. It bumped up a bit the last couple of days, but we've come from, well, $122 a barrel to $104 a barrel. So that's why the price of gas has dropped, even though more people are buying it and using it. And speaking of buying it, who has had the pump shut down when the price tally hits $100 or even $75 and your tank isn't full yet? Well, if you're paying at the pump with a debit or credit card and you have a car with like a 20-gallon tank, that's likely happened to you recently. So here's the quick explanation why. According to Bloomberg and Kelley Blue Book, when you slide your debit card into the slot, your bank puts a hold on that account for a certain amount. They don't know how much you're going to spend at the pump, so they pick a number, and that can be anywhere from $50 to $175. Just to make sure you have that money to pay for it. Credit card companies do pretty much the same thing. Gas stations are the ones setting those pay-at-the-pump limits, by the way, and they do it for two reasons: transaction fees and fraud limits. Fees are higher for larger purchases, and credit card companies won't pay for fraudulent charges over a certain amount. Recently, that number has been about $125 for both, meaning fees are higher for things that cost more than $125, and sellers would be on the hook for anything above that number that ends up being disputed or fraudulent. Well, within the last month, with the cost of gas on the rise, like that 90-degree vertical climb in the aftershock in Athol, Visa and MasterCard have raised that fraudulent liability threshold to $175 because of the increasing cost of gas. This isn't the first time they've done this. Remember back in 2008 when we set our previous record high for gas prices at $4.16? Well, back then, Visa's limit at the pump was $50. They raised it in 2008 to $75 because it was costing most of us a lot more than $50 to fill up. Okay, so if that limit is now up to $175 these days, why does the pump you're using stop at $100 or another number? Because ultimately, it's up to the gas station to set that limit. And some have set it at $75, others at $100, and then still others, like stinker stations, well, they have set their limit at $150 as of the last couple of months, we're told. By the way, AAA Idaho expects we will be on this roller coaster ride of gas prices through the summer, with the only real hope for relief coming closer to Labor Day. So buckle up, and as they used to say on the big Thunder Mountain ride in Disneyland, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here is the wildest ride in the wilderness. Bree's going to be back to tell us about the first major heat wave of the season heading our way, and we might be seeing some more cool cash kicked back to us from the state. Another record-breaking surplus is in store, but from where? You asked, we tried to answer. Which is a great reminder, the 208 is a conversation, which means we want to hear from you. What do you want to see more of, or what questions do you want us to look into? Connect with us anytime. You can text us at the number on your screen, 208-321-5614. Just make sure you always include your name and the hashtag the 208 so we know it's for us.
Hotter today than yesterday. Yesterday, just a perfect day with a high of 89 degrees. But today will be much closer to where we should be, what is average for this point in the summer, middle of July. We'll call it middle of July. High pressure, though, building in, and the hottest days of summer are upon us. This will bring in the heat out of the southwest and possibly a little bit of monsoonal moisture that you can see circling that high there around the Four Corners region. It may just increase cloud cover Tuesday into Wednesday, possibly keeping us from triple digits. There's a potential potential there, as you can see into Thursday as well. But 99, 100, 101, it's all pretty hot across the board. Not looking to break any records, stacking up the forecast high next to that record for the day. This takes us through the end of the work week, though the potential for triple digits will continue into the weekend as well. So maybe a great weekend for camping plans if you have those reservations already. Magic Valley forecast near 100 degrees in most spots tomorrow. And we head up to the Central Mountains, just taking the edge off the heat, but still pretty warm. Places like Stanley, Sun Valley getting into the upper 80s, low 90s for Long Valley, 102 for Riggins, and some nice triple digits. A lot of numbers to cram into these graphics here. Not the hottest day of the year so far, but the hottest stretch of weather that we've seen so far this summer. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. I mentioned that little bit of moisture creeping in with some extra cloud cover late Tuesday into Wednesday, possibly into Thursday as well, which may keep temperatures from reaching their full potential, and it brings a slight storm chance, very slight storm chance. You can download our interactive radar and find the forecast at ktvb.com.
We'll take any break we can get, Bree. Well, the continuation of the two-way conversation. I mean, sometimes it starts and stops like those text threads with your friends, and other times the dialogue is abundant as, well, an Idaho state budget surplus. We talked about that surplus about 10 days ago, how Idaho is in even better financial condition than it was last year, which was itself a record-breaking year. That forecasted surplus prompted a lot of suggestions and questions, mostly about where that surplus would be best spent. Just a refresher, though, as of July 1st, the beginning of the 2023 fiscal year, the state is predicting a budget surplus of about $1.3 billion. That's billion with a B. A new record, of course, and about $411 million more than the record set last year. Well, this record is coming in even with the governor signing the biggest tax cut in state history back in February, more than $600 million. You probably already received your portion of the $350 million in rebates, and you'll continue to see the benefits with the $250 million in permanent tax reductions for future years. So some of you had questions considering we kicked back $600 million from last year's surplus. How can we still be more than $400 million ahead of last year? Jim in Meridian texted us after the show on Friday asking what caused the state surplus to increase from last year until now. Simple question. We put that question to Alex Adams, the budget and regulatory chief for Governor Little's office. He's the brains behind the budget, basically. But he told us to ask that of the governor's office directly, which we did. And we were told, in part, Idahoans will benefit from another record budget surplus thanks to strong economic activity in this state, low unemployment, and the governor's conservative approach to managing state government, meaning we're not spending as much as we're taking in. Basically, despite record growth in population, our unemployment rates are low, meaning people are working and paying income taxes. More businesses are opening up, paying more corporate taxes, and we're spending that income paying sales taxes. But we wanted to know, what does strong economic activity specifically mean? Where's the biggest bump coming from? That answer we've yet to hear, and maybe it's too soon to break it down like that, since we won't get an official budget surplus until, well, I guess the total of that surplus until later this month. We're just getting the preliminary numbers, and about middle of July is when we get that official total. However, that $1.3 billion, we're told, likely won't change much. So what will we do with all that incoming cash? I'm sure there'll be a lot of ideas this legislative session, but Governor Little has already said he anticipates additional tax relief. So stand by for some more rebate checks.
We can't lose Maggie's face.
No, put it down. Put it down. Okay, now, Clyde.
Oh God, no.
Clyde,
Oh.
just wait.
Yeah, that actually happened this morning. And there's a lot that went unsaid, but we'd like to talk about what was said. All right, if you haven't already, help us keep the 208 conversation going. Tell us how you feel about the show, the good, the bad, and, well, everything in between. Text us at 208-321-5614. Include your name and the hashtag #the208. And as usual, we've carved out some time at the end of the show to share some of our favorites. You know, it's rare that we cross paths with the morning crew here on the 208. I mean, they're up at some ungodly hour. Fresh-faced by 5 a.m., though, usually heading home and ready for a nap by the time the dayside shift rolls in. But something happened this morning on Wake Up Idaho that people will still talking about this afternoon in the newsroom. So we thought we'd share it with you this evening through a new segment we're calling Quotes Out of Context. Let's start with this one. Maggie, are you ready for this? I think my hands are full. No, put it in your mouth. He's going to give you a kiss. No, I swear to God, please do this for the whole state of Idaho. He's done this with hundreds of people. Put it in your mouth. And then there was some screaming and then some laughter. Clyde, it's down there, buddy. Justin, I think you need to do it. Did you feel his lips? Not at all. I felt them. They're hairy and, well, that's quite a smooch. Quite a smooch I received this morning. Oh, man. He opened up for that one. He loves you the best. Thank you, Clyde. You know, just reading that transcript from Wake Up Idaho, you might be wondering what in the world was happening. So here are those quotes, this time with context.
Maggie, I want you to do something. Are you ready for this? I don't know if I can do anything. My hands are full. No, put it in your mouth. He's going to give you a kiss. No, I swear to God, please. Do this for the whole state of Idaho.
What if he bites my face?
He won't. He's done this with hundreds of people. Put it in your mouth.
We can't lose Maggie's face.
No, put it down. Put it down. Okay, now, Clyde.
Oh my God, no.
Clyde,
Oh.
just wait.
Are you okay, Maggie?
Hey,
Clyde, it's down there, buddy.
when you go to the
Nah, I'm good.
I think you need to do it,
He's Gah!
Can we talk about their lips? Did you feel his lips?
Not at all.
They're like prehensile. They're able to work.
I felt him.
They're hairy. And
That's
able-
quite a smooch. That's
Yes.
quite a smooch I
They're able
received
to
this
work
morning.
around. Oh, man, he opened up for that one. You know what I mean?
He really likes you, apparently.
Yes,
He
yes,
loves you the best.
yes. I mean,
Thank you,
I
Clyde.
think anyone who has carrots, but.
And we thought reading excerpts from Wrinkly Bits was a bit racy. Well, that was Corbin Maxey, by the way, who brought his camel Clyde to the KTVB studios this morning. Tune in tomorrow to Wake Up Idaho. You never know what they're going to be doing down over there, but you can guarantee if it's this, we're going to be having some fun with it over here at the 208. Wake Up Idaho. You might consider changing the name of the morning show to Get Up Idaho. How about Get Some Idaho? Okay. All right, this is the part of the show where we read the text messages that you send in during the show. We kind of put them up on the big board here so you can read along with us. But we're having some technical difficulties today, so I'm going to read them off the phone where you sent these messages. Let's start with this one from Kathy in Boise, talking about the elected officials banning people or blocking people on social media accounts because of the comments they get. Kathy says, you refer to those we have elected as our leaders. I think of them as our employees, she says. That's a good point. Some people do that as well. We do pay their salary after all. Are we being conditioned by big oil? This is Robin who wants to know about the price we did on the price of gas, and finally a little bit of a dip, just not so much in Idaho. We watch the prices go up, and then we are so happy to accept a cost way past what is the previous normal. We did the same at 1, then 2, now 4. Ouch, big oil is so fat and happy. A lot of people commenting about, well, why didn't you mention the record profits that big oil companies are making these days? Because, well, I knew you would. And yes, I was going to get to that because of comments like this. Another question from Jody, is it possible to get a citizen initiative about abortion access on the ballot? Well, I guess anything is possible. It's just a matter of getting enough signatures from enough people around the state to do that and then get it on the ballot. But as you saw with Reclaim Idaho, it is a process. Last question here. How about the use of the surplus to boost our teachers' pay up out of the basement? A lot of those today. We are still one of the last in spending when it comes to education. $1.3 billion will go a long way. We'll see you tomorrow.